Imagine a life where every decision, every emotion, and every experience is aligned with a deep sense of peace and wisdom. What if you could unlock the secrets to lasting happiness and balance? Today, we're going to explore 5 timeless teachings of the Buddha, lessons that can not only transform your life, but also guide you to inner peace, clarity, and fulfillment. Stay with me as we dive into these profound teachings that have stood the test of time. And before we begin, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay connected with wisdom that can truly enhance your journey in life. Buddhism isn't just a religion, it's a way of living that encourages mindfulness, compassion, and self-awareness. In today's fast-paced world, where anxiety, stress, and uncertainty dominate, the ancient wisdom of the Buddha offers a sanctuary for the soul, a path toward lasting peace and happiness. The Buddha, over 2,500 years ago, provided us with practical tools for navigating the complexities of life. Today, we'll uncover 5 of these teachings and show you how to apply them in your own life to experience a deeper connection with yourself and the world around you. Teaching 1: The Power of Impermanence. Let's start with one of the core principles in Buddhism, impermanence or anicca. Impermanence is the understanding that everything in life is temporary. Whether it's joy or sorrow, success or failure, every moment is in a state of flux. This concept can initially seem unsettling, but when you embrace it, impermanence becomes a source of liberation. Imagine a world where you are no longer afraid of loss or disappointment because you understand that everything is transient. Think about nature. Every leaf on a tree changes, every season passes, and even the strongest mountains are eventually shaped by wind and water. Buddha teaches that, like nature, our lives are also constantly changing. Embracing this idea frees us from the suffering caused by clinging to things that inevitably change. For example, when a relationship ends or we lose something we love, we feel pain because we resist the change. By accepting impermanence, we allow ourselves to flow with life's changes rather than fight against them. Consider this. Instead of holding on tightly to the past or fearing the future, we can focus on the present moment. Buddha's teaching encourages us to live fully in the now, knowing that each moment is unique and precious. By doing so, we cultivate mindfulness and presence, reducing anxiety about what might come next. In practice, this could mean paying attention to the little things, like the warmth of the sun on your skin or the sound of laughter, knowing that these moments too will pass, but are beautiful while they last. Teaching 2: Mindfulness as a Daily Practice. Mindfulness, or sati, is the practice of being fully aware of what is happening in the present moment. Buddha often emphasized that our minds tend to drift into either the past, where we dwell on regrets and mistakes, or into the future, where we worry about the unknown. But the present moment is the only time we truly live. Imagine sitting in a room with a beautiful view of nature outside, but instead of looking out the window, your mind is consumed with thoughts about yesterday's meeting or tomorrow's to-do list. You miss the beauty in front of you. Mindfulness teaches us to bring our attention back to what is happening right now. When we do this, we start to experience life more vividly and more richly. In today's world, where distractions are everywhere, our phones, social media, emails, mindfulness has become more important than ever. Buddha's teaching of sati encourages us to practice mindful living, whether we are eating, working, or even washing dishes. For example, when you're eating a meal, instead of rushing through it, try to savor each bite. Notice the flavors, the textures, and the sensation of the food nourishing your body. When you're working, bring your full focus to the task at hand rather than multitasking or thinking about what's next. Practicing mindfulness helps to quiet the mind and reduce stress. It allows you to see your thoughts and emotions as they arise without getting caught up in them. Over time, this leads to greater self-awareness and emotional resilience. You learn to observe your thoughts instead of reacting to them automatically. This simple practice can dramatically shift your perspective on life. Teaching 3, the Middle Way. The Middle Way is one of the Buddha's most well-known teachings. It emphasizes the importance of balance in all aspects of life. In the Buddha's own journey, he experienced extremes, from indulgence as a prince to severe asceticism as a monk. Neither path brought him peace or enlightenment. It was only when he discovered the middle way, a balanced approach, that he found true wisdom. In modern life, this teaching resonates deeply. Many of us swing between extremes, working too hard, then feeling burned out, or indulging too much and then feeling guilty. The middle way reminds us that moderation is key. We don't need to deprive ourselves of joy or pleasure, but we also don't need to chase after it constantly. Instead, we can find a balance that brings contentment and peace. For example, when it comes to health, Buddha's middle way can guide us. Rather than following extreme diets or exercise routines, we can choose a balanced approach that nourishes our bodies and minds. The same applies to our work-life balance. Instead of overworking ourselves or neglecting our responsibilities, we can aim for a balance that allows us to succeed without sacrificing our well-being. This teaching also extends to our emotional lives. When we encounter difficult emotions like anger, fear, or sadness, the middle way teaches us not to suppress these emotions or let them control us. Instead, we acknowledge them with mindfulness, allowing ourselves to experience them without judgment. By doing so, we avoid being overwhelmed by our emotions and can respond to life's challenges with greater wisdom and compassion. Teaching 4, the practice of compassion. Compassion, or metta, is at the heart of Buddhist teachings. It's not just about feeling kindness toward others. It's an active practice of caring for the well-being of all living beings, including yourself. Buddha taught that when we cultivate compassion, we reduce our suffering and that of others. Think about the last time you were kind to someone. Maybe you helped a friend, comforted a family member, or even smiled at a stranger. How did it make you feel? Acts of compassion create a sense of connection and joy, not only for the recipient, but also for the giver. Buddha's teaching encourages us to make compassion a way of life, not just an occasional act. Metta begins with ourselves. Often we are our own harshest critics. We hold ourselves to unrealistic standards, and when we fall short, we punish ourselves with guilt or shame. Buddha's teaching of metta asks us to start by extending loving kindness to ourselves. When we practice self-compassion, we become kinder to others as well. One of the most famous metta practices is the loving kindness meditation. In this meditation, you start by silently repeating phrases like, "May I be happy, may I be healthy, may I be safe." You then extend these wishes to others, starting with someone you love, then to a neutral person, and even to someone you find difficult. Over time, this practice helps to break down barriers and fosters a sense of interconnectedness. In today's world, where division and conflict are so prevalent, Buddha's teaching of compassion is more relevant than ever. By practicing metta, we not only contribute to the well-being of others, but also cultivate inner peace. When we view the world through the lens of compassion, we naturally create a more harmonious and loving environment. Teaching 5, letting go of attachment. Buddha taught that attachment is one of the primary causes of suffering. We often become attached to things, people, or outcomes, and when they don't go as planned, we feel pain. Letting go of attachment doesn't mean we stop caring or become indifferent. Instead, it means we release our tight grip on things that are beyond our control. Imagine holding a handful of sand. The tighter you grip, the more sand slips through your fingers. But if you hold it loosely, the sand stays in your hand. This is how attachment works. When we cling too tightly to our desires or expectations, we suffer. But when we let go, we find freedom. For example, think about a relationship. If we become too attached to a specific outcome, like wanting someone to behave a certain way or wanting the relationship to last forever, we set ourselves up for disappointment. But if we approach the relationship with an open heart, appreciating it for what it is rather than trying to control it, we can experience deeper joy and connection. The same applies to our goals. It's natural to have ambitions and desires, but when we become too attached to achieving a specific result, we often experience frustration and anxiety. Buddha's teaching encourages us to focus on the process rather than the outcome. By letting go of the need for things to turn out a certain way, we open ourselves to new possibilities and experience greater peace. In the modern world, where success is often defined by external achievements, Buddha's teaching of non-attachment reminds us to find contentment within ourselves. We don't need to chase after things outside of us to find happiness. By letting go of attachment, we free ourselves from the cycle of wanting and needing, and we can experience a deeper sense of fulfillment. Teaching 6, the path of right understanding. Right understanding, or samadhi, is the first step on the Noble Eightfold Path, which Buddha laid out as a guide to ending suffering and achieving enlightenment. This teaching is about seeing the world as it truly is, not through the lens of our desires, fears, or preconceived notions, but with clarity and wisdom. Right understanding means recognizing the Four Noble Truths: that suffering exists, that it has a cause, that it can end, and that there is a path to its end. When we understand these truths, we stop chasing after fleeting pleasures or avoiding discomfort. Instead, we begin to live in alignment with the deeper reality of life. In modern life, we are often taught to seek happiness in external things, whether it's wealth, status, or relationships. But Buddha teaches that true happiness comes from understanding the nature of reality. By cultivating right understanding, we begin to see through the illusions that keep us trapped in cycles of craving and dissatisfaction. For example, when we experience negative emotions like anger or jealousy, right understanding helps us to see that these emotions arise from misunderstandings. Instead of reacting to these emotions, we can investigate them with curiosity and compassion, asking ourselves, what belief or desire is fueling this emotion? How can I see this situation more clearly? Right understanding also encourages us to see the interconnectedness of all beings. When we understand that our actions affect others and that we are all part of the same web of life, we naturally become more compassionate and mindful in our choices. Teaching 7, the power of karma. Karma is often misunderstood as a form of cosmic punishment or reward, but in Buddhism, karma simply refers to the law of cause and effect. Every action we take, whether through thought, speech, or deed, creates a ripple that affects our present and future experiences. Karma reminds us that we are the creators of our own lives. Buddha's teaching on karma is empowering because it shows us that our choices matter. Every small action contributes to the unfolding of our lives. This doesn't mean that bad things only happen to bad people, but rather that our actions have consequences, and by making conscious, ethical choices, we can create positive outcomes for ourselves and others. In practical terms, this means being mindful of how we treat others, how we think about ourselves, and how we navigate the world. When we act with kindness, generosity, and wisdom, we not only benefit others, but also create the conditions for our own happiness. Karma also teaches us about personal responsibility. Instead of blaming others or circumstances for our suffering, we take ownership of our actions and attitudes. This doesn't mean that we can control everything in life, but it does mean that we can choose how we respond to life's challenges. In today's society, where we often feel powerless in the face of external events, Buddha's teaching on karma reminds us of our own inner power. We may not be able to control what happens to us, but we can always choose how we respond. These 7 teachings of the Buddha are more than just philosophical ideas. They are practical tools for living a meaningful and fulfilling life. By embracing impermanence, practicing mindfulness, finding balance through the middle way, cultivating compassion, letting go of attachment, developing right understanding, and recognizing the power of karma, we can transform our lives from the inside out. As you reflect on these teachings, I encourage you to take small steps toward incorporating them into your daily life. Whether it's taking a few minutes each day for mindfulness, practicing compassion with those around you, or simply reminding yourself to let go of attachment, these practices can bring more peace, clarity, and happiness into your life. If you found value in today's video, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay connected with more insights on how ancient wisdom can guide us in modern life. Let me know in the comments which of these teachings resonates most with you. And remember, the path to inner peace is a lifelong journey. But with these timeless lessons, you're already well on your way. Thank you for being part of this journey, and may the teachings of the Buddha guide you toward a brighter, more abundant future.